This is the High School Football America podcast for July the 22nd, 2020. I'm Jeff Fisher. The High School Football America podcast is brought to you by GameStrat, America's premier sideline instant replay system with outstanding reliability, faster speed than Huddle. Plus, GameStrat has awesome customer service. They pick up the phone along with different price plans, right for every coach's budget. And right now, GameStrat is offering a discount of up to $200, which means it's cheaper than Huddle's sideline. Plus, GameStrat is making it risk-free if you make the switch now. And there isn't a 2020 season, and of course we all hope there will be. Your money will roll right into 2021. There's no risk, and you can't beat that, but you do have to act. And you must act by the end of the month, July 31st. To get a demo, go to GameStrat.com or click on the GameStrat banner ad located on every page of HighSchoolFootballAmerica.com. All right, heading to Southern California and my all-time favorite high school football voice. When this man speaks, you can even hear it as he's laughing right now. When I hear his voice, I want to put on the chin strap and go hit someone. And trust me, in the middle of COVID right now, I think I really do want to hit someone for another reason. Bruce Rollinson of Mater Dei, the legendary coach of the two-time High School Football America national champs, 17 and 18. Number 2 last year, almost got it, but Bruce is on the line to talk a little bit about winter football. I don't know the last time you did that, Bruce. I'm assuming it was never, but welcome to the show.
Jeff, it's great hearing your voice, and hopefully you and the family are doing well, and here we go. I think I'm on about my 6th calendar, trying to figure out when we're going to start and who we're going to play. The uncertainty is I used to not sleep because of worrying about position issues or, different things like that. Now I don't sleep because I don't know what the next day is going to bring. And, I told my wife, that I try to stay positive every morning, and by 1 o'clock I want to put my head through the wall. But, we'll find out what's next. And it looks like we're going in January, so here we go.
So they say. Bruce Rollinson on the line, the legendary coach of the Mater Dei Monarchs. I love him, a great friend of ours. I just love the fact that you put things in perspective, and I have so many questions I'm thinking of right now, but we are going to talk some real football. But I guess at the top, it's, and I've joked with all the coaches, right? When you got your coaching whistle, nobody handed you a playbook that said, here's what happens when COVID or a pandemic strikes, right? So what goes through your mind when the CIF and then the Southern section says, okay, folks, I know you've been building up to do this in August and then start at the end of the month. Now we're going to January. What goes through your mind having seen as much as you have as a coach at the high school level?
Well, it's uncharted territory. Usually, even if you're not coaching in a business, in whatever your profession is, when you're as old and have as many years into it as I do, you usually have a point of reference. In other words, okay, well, back in 94, when we had this problem, this is how we solved it. Mm-hmm. Back in 2012, when we had this problem. Now we have a major problem and we have no solutions. When they shut down in March, Jeff, it rocked everybody. But yet, and I think it's important, yes, I take this serious. And, I say a prayer every night for the people who have been infected, and God bless the people that have lost loved ones. This isn't something we can mess with, but yet, there's so much uncertainty and there's so much bad information. But, for your question, it's changing. Best example, we were allowed to start our summer session, summer camp, if you want to call it, non-padded practices. We started about 3 weeks later than we normally do. And, it was all social distanced. It was following the county guidelines. but the kids were so excited, Jeff. And it really wasn't football. We were just jumping over bags. And you know, we got 10 practices in, and here comes the word during the course of our afternoon practice: we got to shut down. The bosses, the people that are higher than me, are uncomfortable, and there was a spike in numbers, etc. The devastation on my players' faces, the sadness on my players' faces is something I'll never forget. You know, and now, you know, we haven't been back. You know, I haven't seen my team in almost a month. You know, 9,000 text messages. And of course, you know, we're trying to Zoom with the leadership council and things like that. But when it's all said and done, it's, and we don't know where we're going. I mean, you know, you know, are we going to open school? When are we going to open school? Are we going to open remotely? My school is in the forefront of having good ideas. We have a plan to open up on a hybrid schedule. We had fully intended to go on August 10th, and now that's on hold, with the hopes of maybe a couple of weeks later or maybe after Labor Day. So, you know, like, that's why I have to keep a smile on my face. You know, right now it looks like we're going to get football, and we would start practice in pads December 14th. So, you know, but you and I know that can change tomorrow.
Yeah, a lot of praying going on right now about that. And I'm a glass half full guy on that. Bruce Rollinson on the line with us. Coach, I know you love your kids. I've seen it up close and personal. I've heard the kids talk about you. And this is about the kids. It's about safety, as you said. But you talked about the smiles on the face when you got back there. I'm curious, do you have a little anecdote to tell? Was there one kid that came up to you after all this, you know, sitting back and waiting and watching the bad news? Did you get any of those without, you know, giving names? I'm just curious, what are the kids saying? Because I really haven't talked to any coaches yet that have given us any of those anecdotes. But tell me a little bit about the kids and some of the things you may have heard once you got back.
Well, you know, the funniest thing is, you know, we had all of these procedures ready to go, all these protocols ready to go. And you know me well enough. I'm always going to try to find humor in something. And I told the people that were you know, we had designated entry points, and they were going to answer their questions, and they were going to get their temperature taken. And I said, look, whatever you do, they have not seen each other since March 13th. Don't start yelling and screaming at them. They're going to hug each other. They're going to high five each other. They're not flaunting the rules. They're excited. They're going to get to train. I go, let's just give them a little space. We'll do the best we can. And you know, sure enough, half the people that were involved in it are yelling and screaming, and I just step back and I go, really? I go, and the people that were yelling and screaming, Jeff, they're not really, you know, they're not trained professional educators. A professional educator would say, Rollinson's right. Okay, we can calm them down, but that initial, but I remember that, you know, not just the yelling and screaming, but the joy that they had. And the other thing, I got a big old linebacker that's going to be a great player for us. And the next thing, you know, it gets past, I hear it, you know, so-and-so, I don't want to give his name. He's got a temperature. And I go, what? So, you know, because, I mean, if I sent one email, I sent 60 emails out. Do not send your son if he has a temperature. So I went out to him, stayed my distance, and I said, what's going on? And he said, oh, Coach, he goes, I've been waiting in line for an hour, and I realized, he goes, I was so excited, I left my cleats in my car. I ran all the way back to the parking lot to get my cleats, and by the time I got back in line, there were only 3 guys in front of me, and he'd been standing in the sun for an hour, and now he just sprinted 200 yards. So, of course, his temperature was up. His heart rate was going about 700 miles an hour. So, that'll go in my book sometime, and the look on his face, he just kept saying the same thing over and over. They're not going to let me practice. They're not going to let me practice. I said, no. I said, you're going to stand here in the shade. Okay, you're going to calm yourself down. Your temperature will go down, I promise you, and you'll be in. And when he cleared the gate, he was sprinting in, and you'd have thought he just won the lottery.
That's one of the things that I think is being lost here. What the kids are losing, but not being able to do that. And again, safety is utmost with that. And I said, Bruce, there's a lot of questions, and you know me, I always try to find a different one for you. But when I was talking about how much I know you love the kids and they love you back, it made me think to you back last time I saw you guys in person in 2017, and the entry of the Monarchs onto the field is something special. It's something I didn't know about till I moved out there in 2012. And one of the things I always appreciate, and I want you to explain to people kind of how you developed this. I don't know if it's a tradition before you or if it's just yours, but I remembered you would go in the front line of all those guys there, and you would get right in their face, grab some of their helmets there, and look like you gave them a heart-to-heart, not like a chewing out or anything. But could you tell the listeners how that tradition began and what you do? Because I think that really, to me, when I think of Bruce Rollinson, aside from the voice, that is what I think of when I think of you.
Well, Jeff, back when I played at Mater Dei 200 years ago, and we folded our helmets up and put them in our back pocket at the end of the day, I was fortunate enough to play under a legendary coach, Dick Coury. Had a 10-year run here at Mater Dei. That he set the tone for the superiority of Mater Dei football, taking over in 1960. And when I was a young seventh grader in my little Catholic grade school, Holy Family, my dad said, hey, I want to go down and watch this Mater Dei. He goes, we're going to have to figure out high school in a couple of years. In honesty, I didn't want to go to Catholic school. I wanted to go to public school with all my friends. But we went down to the old Santa Ana Bowl, which, needless to say, was a wood stands. But I remember seeing them coming out in this precision march. And I was hooked. I couldn't even tell you anything about the game. I just remembered when they came out of the locker room, they lined up. And, when I took back over in 1989, a couple of the coaches that preceded me, they were tweaking the it's called the Monarch March. They were tweaking it, and it kind of it upset me. It upset alumni, because those 10 years, that's kind of the statement. It's like the 3 stripes on our helmet: pride, poise, and courage. So as soon as I came back, I said, this is how we will enter the stadium. We will say our final prayers, final words in the locker room, and then we'll come out. And what you have is your 10 squad leaders in a tight formation, and then the seniors are in row 2 and 3, or however many seniors you have, with the youngest players in the back. And a dream of a lot of kids is to be in that front row. And those are most of them are my primetime guys, and they are the leaders of the team. And yeah, I depending on, what sometimes I'm checked off the planet. I might pop a helmet or two, but most of the time it's inspiration. But I talk to them about the task ahead. I talk to them about the challenges both they're going to have as an individual in their matchups, and also that they have to assert themselves as a leader, especially in the bigger games. And obviously we've played in a lot of those. And then it's a cadence march that breaks out into a sprint. And over these 32 years, going on 32 years as a head coach, I haven't got run over yet, but I've been awful close. I used to be able to jump up and down in front of them, but now I just kind of clap my hands and say, all right, now my next goal is to get to the sidelines and get my headphones on.
Oh, well, we all get old sometime along the line. Bruce Rollinson on the line. And it's one of those things that I've loved. And I said, we're going to bounce back and forth here. So COVID means football in January 2021, God willing. And you had your schedule all set. We all know you guys don't duck anybody. You're in the Trinity League, so we all know that grind that you go through every year. But you still got to find some non-league games, and you've filled a lot of those non-league games in the most recent years with out-of-state teams, which is not probably going to be possible for you. So tell me a little bit about what you're doing to try and fill out a 10-game schedule.
Well, I can tell you this is probably the best communication that head coaches have had. Because we've all been on the phone since the press conference Monday, trying to line up opponents. Fortunately, one of my dear friends and a great football coach, Matt Logan, out at Corona Centennial, we were supposed to play them in what's called week 0. And there is no week 0 in the newly configured schedule. So I would have lost that game. But and Matt and I talked about it, and I tried everything, push it, do something. And he goes, Bruce, I can't. I got contracts with weeks 1, 2, 3, and 4. Well, yesterday in the late afternoon, Tuesday, somebody backed out on them. So I have them in week 2. I'm still trying to find a week 1 opponent, which every time I look at the calendar on my grease board here, January 8th, that doesn't even sound right, Jeff. But,
no, not at all.
I'm usually planning a Super Bowl party by then, or we're having our varsity awards ceremony. But I need a game 1. I've got Corona Centennial. I've got Muir High School out of Pasadena. I'm in negotiations right now with a Northern California team. I forget I just drew a blank on the name of it. Munis High School, and then I need a 4, and I've got La Mirada, a good friend of mine, a great coach, Mike Moschetti. We've played them in the past. I've got them in week 5. Then the grind of 6 through 10. I talked to Coach Negro this morning, and we might just decide to play each other like 5 times a year.
Now, you just stole my next question. That was going to be what I told Jason, because I'm good friends with him too. I was going to you guys just play 5 non-league games. You'll play your league game, and then you'll play in the postseason. People will love it.
Yeah.
So that might happen?
No.
Oh.
Well, you know what? The way the situation is right now, Jeff, I'm not so sure if it won't happen.
Well, if that week 1 stays blank on the grease board, you know who to call.
Yeah. Well, it'll be financially conducive to both schools, and the high school fans here in Southern Cal would love it, but. I don't know if we'd be standing after week 10.
Oh, well, Bruce Rollinson on the line here, and let's talk a little bit about one of the biggest questions that people get is, what is going to happen with some of these kids that you have that we know are going to go on and play at the Power Fives? Now, of course, it's all going to be contingent upon what college football does, right? If they don't play in the fall, maybe there's no but what are the kids saying? Are you talking to any of the kids that are in that classification to kind of get their head straight on what they're faced with? I mean, they've got a big decision anyway, but this makes it like triple that.
Yeah, I mean, it see, you got to put it into two categories. You got to put it into the boys that have set their curriculum, and here at Mater Dei, it begins in your 10th grade year. If you feel like you have the academic ability to enhance your curriculum to graduate in December, early graduate. I have 3 of those, and then you have to get it in the next category, which are boys that are committed but are going to stay till June. I use Rajon Davis as an example. Rajon is I think he's the number 1 linebacker in the nation.
Good one.
And he's committed to LSU. So now, does Rajon want to play and then forego his senior year? If I know Rajon, he's playing. Mm-hmm. He's one of my big leaders, and but what I'm doing is I'm doing it my own way. I'm letting them have space. I'm always going to defer to the primary educator, which is the family. The early grads, in that category, the 3 that I've talked to, I just said, just go slow, stay off social media as much as possible, because you don't know what your status is with regards to the college football season. I completely support your early graduation. I commend you for getting your academics. And if that's what you want to do, I'm good with that. I don't want to be the one to try to pressure them or guilt them into staying. You and I know a major college scholarship is, $250,000
mm-hmm.
or more. So, I'm not going to ask him to forego that. The committed guys, again, I'm going to give them space, and then they have to make that decision. And I've got another 4 or 5 kids that are committed. My gut feeling is they'll roll with us. Fortunately, we have a lot of young talent. It's not like I want to go to that talent base. I'd rather play with my experienced, committed kids. But, there again, we're in that uncertainty, that unknown. That's all going to play itself out here pretty quick. And again, just like everything else, that could change. I thought your comment at the beginning, what happens if college football gets pushed to the spring? Can they have 20 additional scholarship kids on campus, or what do you do? Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Yeah, no one knows.
So, to me, when we get the release to start practice again, I just plan on they'll all be there practicing until they know. At a certain point in November, I've got to say, well, look, I gotta back your reps down, because I got to get another kid ready. But it's kind of like I'm not avoiding it, but I'll cross that bridge when I get there.
Yeah, you've done this once or twice. It's not your first rodeo. Bruce Rollinson of Mater Dei on the line, and talk a bit about this team and what you have coming back. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And by the way, when you were saying about those young guys going with a young lineup, remember what happened the last time you did that, right? A couple of back-to-back national championships and all. Yeah. A kid named JT Daniels, who, by the way, I'm going to enjoy watching here in Georgia. But anyway, let's go to what you have right now in your mind, thinking that don't worry about the kids that may or may not be there come January. Let's go with what would have happened in September. So we're going to start where you always love to start, with those piggies up front. Let's. What do you got on that offensive line?
We've got some big old boys coming back, and we, as you know, in Southern California, there's a lot of transferring that goes back and forth, but. I've got a great big old tackle that didn't even play football last year. A kid named Ross Masuli. He's going to be a special player for us. When I go across, actually the boy played as a freshman, George Mickey Hahn at center, has started. Oh God! So what do we got? Probably is, he's in the 30s for starts. So we're pretty confident with him. Remember last year when we talked, I started a true freshman, a 14-year-old, 6'4", 310-pound freshman guard, BJ Tolo. BJ is he's going to be one of the best ones we've coached. When you start and play, 14 games as a 14-year-old, I think, the gene pool lined up pretty good for him.
Yeah.
So, he's back for his second year. We've got, I'm drawing a blank, some other kids that, they're huge. And it fascinates me, Jeff, when you look at the size of these kids. I'm gonna roll with a sophomore tackle, a kid named Lipe Moala. Lipe is 6'5", 320, and he's only going to be a sophomore. And then there'll be some competition, behind them. But we feel pretty good about the offensive line. We feel real good. There's some young kids coming up. Jack Lappin. I feel like I'm missing somebody, which is I'll blame it on old age when his parents call me.
Blame it on COVID. Everything else is being blamed on COVID right now. Bruce Rollinson on the line. One thing I'm thinking about, Bruce, is, we were joking, earlier when I said about, what happened the last time you started some young guys up front and all that, what happened. But, if you keep, having all this depth and all these young kids, you're never going to retire. And you know what that's going to do to your wife, don't you? But anyway, let's I think she'll get a joke out of that one. She's probably like, I don't want him around the house all day long. But anyway.
I was going to say, we got along well during COVID, but there were a lot of mornings when she said, go for a walk or do something.
Too funny. Well, there's no doubt about it that we mentioned JT earlier. There's another guy, Bryce Young. Everybody's like, who's going to replace JT? Who's going to replace Bryce? Who's going to replace Bryce, I guess, is the question. Take us through some of those skill guys you have.
Well, it's, the quarterback is we can have a good competition. And now there's the first uncertainty. The Miller Moss kid transferred in, but he's an early graduate. He's heading up to USC. Does he forego his senior year? We don't know. I've got some kids lined up behind him, some young talent. So it'll get interesting. Kid named Emmett Brown, he'll only be a junior. Kid named Parker Awad, Parker will only be a sophomore. So I think we'll be okay in under center. With the future determining, whether we have an experienced kid or not. The kid came down out of Northern California, a kid named Malik Brown. Right now, he's ranked the number one junior running back in the nation. The kid's phenomenal. And I haven't really, we had some practices in January and February, and, I call them those type of players that I just stare at them. And I just found myself staring at him going, he's going to make me look like I know what I'm doing. And the crazy thing is I've got a kid named Marcise Yetz that can share the load and gives us some flexibility with Ralik. A a kid named Cameron Leofa. He's the bigger power back. We may take the kid that got a lot of snaps last year, a kid named Quincy Craig. Quincy's going to be a special player. We might move him more to the slot position, but he can turn around and go into the backfield. So, we're very deep at the running back position, and then everybody knows, we're young, except for Kyron Ware-Hudson, had a phenomenal junior year. Kyron will be one of our wide receivers. He's an Oregon commit. So now we're into that gray area. Does he not play his senior year, taking the chance on injury? Like you say, I'm not going to worry about that. My gut feeling is another leader like him. I think he plays with his brothers, but, I'm going to support him in whatever decision he makes. And then I got a host of other kids. I got a really, really good other slot receiver, Josiah Zamora. I got the super junior to be, who was super soft, C.J. Williams, another wide receiver. It's crazy. I mean, we've got some guys that can stretch the field. We've got guys with playing experience, and the last one that is Christian Dixon. He's a Michigan commit. Again, matter of fact, he's a early enrollee. So what decision does he make? So we're pretty solid offensively. We're pretty confident that we can move the chains.
Yeah, and there's two things I learned out in Southern California during my time there, especially when it comes to the Trinity League. And this, I think, is people around the country, people think it's always throwing the ball, but you like to pound the ball, and it's a running game that is very helpful for winning championships, and then you don't go anywhere without a defense that's rock solid. And I'm sure you got some players on that side of the football, too. So let's see how many of those names you can remember.
Well, you're putting the pressure on me here. Probably if I start from the front and work back.
There you go.
Where we're inexperienced is at the defensive line. Other than a kid that's got a lot of action, although he wants to attend the Naval Academy. Really, really, really good player. A kid named Tyler Narayan. Narayan, I'm sorry. Tyler started all 14 last year, and he's got a heart as big as the stadium, and he can just flat out play. I got a big old nose tackle with very little playing experience. A kid named Sione Moa. And then it's going to be a competition. From that point, we've got some other kids that we're kind of excited about, but again, they're moving up from the lower ranks. So we'll see where that goes. But with Tyler and if Moa comes up and plays to what our expectations are, I think we'll be good to go. Linebackers, I got a ton of them. But obviously, I talked about Rajon earlier. Rajon is a special player, an LSU commit. He's just a force. He's just a force out there. I got a young inside backer, Leviticus Sua. And I've got great depth on the inside. I got a transfer kid a kid named Malaki Teau. There's another kid that played for us some last year, a kid named Austin Bressler. I like Chris Mazukis. So there's going to be great competition at the linebacker spot. And the guy that's just I got the junior to be that played a ton last year and has got everybody's offered him already. Is a kid named David Bailey, 6'4", 235. He's built like I wish I was built in high school. And with him and Rajon, you're going to have your hands full on your perimeter game with those two. And then on the back end, obviously, we're very confident. That now Jalen Davies, Jalen is an early enrollee going to Oregon. Now he has publicly said that he's probably going to leave, but that's, like I said earlier in the interview, just slow down, Jalen, But, if that's what he chooses to do, that's, he's going to have a great career at the next level. The other side is the junior. Right now is ranked the number one corner in the junior class, a kid named Damani Jackson. Damani goes out for track last year and did not run as a freshman. And they had one track meet before it got canceled. And Damani promptly went out and ran a 10.72 100 meters as a 10th grader. So, and he's 6'1", goes about $185. He's a special player. The other one is Josh Hunter. Josh is a hybrid, can play nickel, a tremendous man coverage kid, could go to corner. Believe it or not, played a lot of safety last year. And then there's a kid named Cam Sidney. Cam has extensive playing time as a 10th grader last year. I got another young sophomore coming up. I'm going to have to Christian Patero. Christian, he's a big hitter. And then there's a kid transferred in from Philadelphia, of all places, Shoes Brinkley. And his tape looks good. I haven't seen him on the field yet, but I guess if you come all the way out from Philly, you must think you can play with the big boys.
I would think so.
Good kid. We'll see. What the future holds for him, but I know he was held in high regard back east. So we got depth.
Yeah, and you kind of, I love you to death. I want to put that chin strap it up and go hit for you. But of all places, Philly, you're talking to a Pennsylvania Dutchman here. What are you trying to do? Insult me? We play good football back there. We don't know how to throw it yet. It's 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Come on, Bruce. All right. Great job on the names. We're going to wrap up. Like I said, I always try and hit you with one that's a little off of football. Bruce Rollinson with us, folks. And you had a granddaughter on your birthday, I believe. You got another grandkid coming. How many grandkids in all right now?
We'll be 5. I think it's September 17th. So a month, 5 weeks from now, we'll be at 5.
There we go.
Matthew and Joey. Matthew's going to be 5 years old in next month. Joey's 2. Hadley Elizabeth. She'll be coming up. No, she's about a year and a half, 18 months. And then little Katie, 2-month-old, born on my birthday. So,
all right.
To show you brainwashing at its best, Jeff, my oldest daughter, Katie's mom, she texted and said, okay, let's look for the positives. The state championship game is April 17th. And 4 days later, we can celebrate your and Katie's birthday. And I said, atta girl.
I love it. Well, I do have a question after getting all your grandkids in there, and I'm glad that one of them is going to be a Virgo. That's my birth month. So here's the question. You've spent your entire life coaching kids, right? That's what you do. It's what you do well. It's what people love about you. I want you to grade yourself as a grandpa. Like, what's the best thing that you are as a grandfather? What's that non-football message you're telling the kids? I'm not going to ask you if the boys are going to play football. I want to just see how good of a grandpa coach you are to the grandkids.
You know what? I'm already being branded as a softie, believe it or not. You know, there's not much that if they want it, I get it. But I'm finding myself with the two boys and one on the way. I'm finding myself kind of giving them a few words of wisdom and you know, kind of the stare down when they get whiny or they get demanding. And you know, there's been a couple of, you know, kind of ease them into the pantry and say, okay, look, you know, enough is enough. Let's get that wrapped up. And you know what the best part is, you know, when they're struggling to do something as little kids do, I drop names. I'll say to Matthew, I'll go, Matthew, okay, let's stop. Bryce Young ate his vegetables. Okay, you want to be like Bryce Young? Start eating those peas, brother. You know?
Well,
and it worked. It worked.
I love it. I love it. Well, let me. You know what? I think I just at the end of every year, right? What's the question you get, Bruce? Win, lose, or draw, right? What do you get? Are you retiring?
Am I retiring?
That you always get that, right? So I just figured it out. So you've got a 5-year-old, you've got a 2 or 3-year-old, and now you have a new one coming up. So I'm figuring since the new one, you know, could probably be playing for you at 14, I think you got 14 more years on the sidelines. How's that? How's that?
There you go. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll be getting one of those little scooters that I can ride around in on the sideline.
As long as they put the 3 stripes on it, you're fine, Bruce. I love having you on here. I love our friendship. You are everything that is good about high school football, and I just wish you nothing but success when we finally get to football. And thank you again for always being generous with your time. That's 45 minutes, but people will love it. So thank you, and best wishes, and be safe out there.
All right. Well, I miss you, Jeff. I miss you. Yeah. My coaches always said, whatever happened to that Jeff guy? And one coach said, well, we need him back because Rollinson always would go over and talk to Jeff for 45 minutes during practice.
There you go. That's a good one. Bruce, take care of yourself.
Right,
take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Be safe. Bye-bye.
And that's the High School Football America podcast, which is brought to you by the great new app, Small Player, Big Play, an age-appropriate, sports-focused social media platform designed to showcase and connect young athletes, their friends, their parents, and their coaches. On Small Player, Big Play, young athletes get the ability to utilize the app and share interest and accomplishments in a very safe and it's a highly secure social media environment. It features live streaming with game day highlights and lucrative fundraising opportunities for your school and your team. Download the Small Player Big Play app on Google Play and the Apple App Store. I'm Jeff Fisher, and you've been listening to the High School Football America podcast.